Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, at the end of the day, you do what you have to do for family. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and conversational fashion. You know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because, quite honestly, you're listening right now. Please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice. We're available everywhere. Over at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel, so you can give us a like and subscribe there as well. We would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on the social media. I believe that's what the kids are calling it these days. But we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on the TikTok, and we're on the Letterboxd for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because, you know, if we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a good one. We're diving into, newish, but one of our favorite streaming services, which is Apple TV Plus, and the show Bad Sisters, which follows the Garvey sisters, who are bound together by the death of their parents and a promise to always protect one another. This show is deadpan hilarious. It's grim. It's dark. For those who appreciate their family gatherings and appreciate their humor with a little bit of an edge to it, this show is definitely for you. But we had the unique pleasure of talking with the one and only Tim Phillips, who does the music for the show. He did it along with the one and only PJ Harvey. But we asked how he got the job and just sort of the nature of being a composer on a show like this. And so very much more about the job. But, I mean, obviously, first off, if you don't already have Apple TV Plus, please go sign up for that and check out Bad Sisters, because it is a hoot. But enjoy our talk with the man here, because Tim is really an up-and-coming composer, and this is a fantastic talk. So enjoy the show and enjoy this, and we'll see you soon.
I'll sign the waiver.
But I mean, obviously, just, man, you know, officially, man, thanks for the time today. And I mean, seriously, sorry about the tech issues the other day, but I'm glad we got on the line to talk.
Don't worry about it. I have those all the time here, so I understand. So
no, I mean, first off, man, just congrats on your work on the show, man. But I mean, I'm always kind of curious to hear how people get into the business of scoring for film and television, because there's such a wide swath of different artists who are getting into the business of doing like film scores and TV scores. And when to the general public, people think it's like, oh, that's the John Williams stuff. No, it's becoming so diverse now.
it hasn't been that John Williams thing for a long time. I mean, when I started out, I mean, it wasn't that probably 15 years ago. He was still getting referenced a lot, but nobody was. You know, it's been a long time since anyone's been allowed to sound like him, because it's just not what filmmakers are really looking for now, I don't think. And if they are, they hire John Williams. So, but for me, it was, I sort of came into it sideways. I was trained in London as a classical musician, and also I was playing in rock bands. So I was kind of doing holding those two things in the air. And then I became friends with a lot of actors while I was living over there. So I moved into scoring for theater, and had some success with that. And then I became an assistant to a guy who was scoring a lot of TV shows. And you know, at the same time, I was writing TV commercial music to make money. So I was kind of learning how to do music to picture at the same time. So it all just kind of coalesced around me being lucky enough to get a break and be asked to score my own show, you know. But I do feel like I kind of slipped into it, right? It wasn't something I went to school specifically to do, or it was never an end game, but it actually turns out to be just a really good thing for me because it combines all of my interests, which are sort of gizmos, music, dramatic storytelling, and solitude. Yeah.
No, I mean,
So,
I guess that dovetails into my next question. Like on something like Bad Sisters, how early on in the process do they bring you on, or is it a question of everything's done? Okay, you've got 6 weeks. Give us something.
oh no, it was very early. They were about halfway through the shoot. So
Yeah.
I knew the director pretty well. I've done a number of projects with her, and she's a fantastic Irish director called Dervla Walsh. So we had just finished doing Shining Vale, which is a show on Stars,
Yeah.
which Sharon also co-created. And then they asked if I would, come and look at this new project that they had just gone off to shoot. And then so I mean, it was pretty early, and at the same moment they sort of said, "Would you be up for collaborating with PJ Harvey on it?" And of course, I said, "Sure."
Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, those kind of collaborations get sort of thrown in the air at the beginning of a process, and in my experience, they never really come off, or something turns up that just makes it a twinkle in someone's eye that never came to fruition. But in this case, yeah, Polly was great, and we from the first we just zoomed and started talking about it with everyone, and she was kind of in from the start, and it just felt like something that was pretty natural for us to work together on. So
No,
and it
I
helped.
mean,
She was a big fan of Sharon's shows. So
oh, perfect. Okay.
yeah.
I know. I mean, I guess that leads to the next question. Like, how is it working with Polly? Because I mean, obviously, she's not someone who you'd think would be working in this milieu. And I mean, and like you said, they can pitch it until the cows come home. It's you're never quite going to believe it until it actually happens.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, it was fantastic working with her. Like I said, the first chat was sort of all guns blazing, and I don't know. To me, it just felt like something that needed to happen because. Sharon had this great idea to do the cover of Who by Fire as the titles as well. And that, a lot of times you hear people come up with things like that in these collaborations, and you think, I'm not so sure. But that one was just like, wow, well, that's going to be a home run because I sort of could hear it right as she was, the second she brought the idea up, it just seemed like, wow, we've got to do that. So, yeah, so that was what I said about kind of making a setting for instantly doing that. And then it was kind of because Polly didn't have a lot of time to work on the collaboration, and I'm based in Vancouver at the moment and she was in London. So we had to kind of come up with a way of bottling her sort of. So I went over to London and spent a couple of weeks there working in a studio, making stuff, and Polly would come along and we would record her, and we basically built her into a huge sampler instrument, her voice, she would set up in the studio and had all these mics around her, and I would have lists of stuff that I wanted to capture her doing. So like different melodic phrases or syllables or cackles or screams, or I mean, just a huge variety of things that could come out of her mouth, basically. Including every note in the scale, so we could build that into chordal instruments that I can then play on the keyboard. And of course, we did Who by Fire, and she nailed that vocal in, I think she did 3 takes, and we used the first one. So
wow,
it was, it was pretty astonishing. I mean, the recording engineer turned to me and went, "Sounds exactly like her." And I went, "Yeah, sure does." But it was kind of one of those strange situations where someone you've heard on a lot of records in your life walks into the studio and sounds exactly like themselves,
Now, I mean, when you're writing for picture, like, what are the creative sort of challenges or encourage, like not necessarily bad challenges, but encouraging challenges that come up? Because I mean, obviously, in and of itself, writing music and writing songs is storytelling of its own right. But on this end, you're writing to a story. You're not writing a story. Like, I'm always curious about the difference there.
It's I find it helps if you make a lot of offers early in the process. If you're sending them stuff that kind of, so that you can insert your DNA into the composition as it's being made, then the editors tend to sort of, if you're sending them useful stuff, at least. I mean, it's not always going to be useful what you're sending, but the way I work is I try and send stuff as early as I can, in order so that, the editors become used to working it into the dough of it, sort of thing, as they're putting it together. And I find that really helps, because if I have a natural inclination to play music at a certain tempo or create a certain type of musical feeling, then they can find an appropriate use for that in the thing that they're putting together, So I find that really helps the thing feel organic when it finally does come back to me.
For
And they say,
sure.
okay, now it's finished. Here's a few of your things that are sort of working here and there and there. It gives me and everyone actually, like, a confidence that you're on a good creative path for this, whatever project you're working on,
No, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, when you're writing for screen, because the nature of the job, I can imagine, would always vary. Like, do
Yeah,
you
it
have
does.
to be constantly writing stuff depending on like if you're in between projects, do you still have to be working on stuff in case somebody says, "Hey, I need something like, in 2 days or XYZ." Like,
I
how does the creative process kind of flow for you?
I do that anyway, because when I'm not scoring to picture, I have other stage projects and kind of album projects and stuff I'm doing. I find that a really valuable part of the process, because the working to picture can be quite depleting, because it's very technical, and you're dealing with a lot of changing goalposts, like the picture's changing on a day-to-day basis. And
Right.
I mean, one of the big challenges, going back to your question, is the constant, someone will send you a scene, you will write some music to it and send it back, and then they'll send it back with 3 seconds out here and 4 seconds out that part, and half a frame out, or sorry, 1 frame out here, and that just, if you spend a lot of time getting the sensitive piece of music to fit perfectly to that previous thing, then it can be quite exhausting having to try and remake that over and over and
For
over.
sure.
But I don't know, I'm sort of used to it at this stage, that I know that's going to happen, so you don't sweat it too much, but it does, after a period of months, kind of feel, it just drains you a little bit. So one of the ways I sort of get ahead of that is by writing my own sort of stuff, free writing. I try and do that for 2 hours every morning,
For sure.
when I'm not working to picture, because I find it's like filling up the tank, and then you're sort of using the tank or going into your bag
Yeah,
of
this
stuff.
piece might work, and then you can, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I find that really useful. That and walking in the woods, that really helps too.
Fair enough.
For a walk in anywhere there's trees,
Now, I mean, I'm kind of curious because, like, for you, I'm kind of curious for the composer, where is the creative payoff? Because it's not a question of you're performing it for fans, or you're in a concert out, or you're releasing an album where there's a tour or anything like that. It's you're kind of cocooned in your own world. Like, when does the sort of creative payoff come for you at the end of the day working in this milieu?
it's in the process. I think it's the satisfaction of sort of, because we have to watch and play and listen to the same piece of music hundreds or thousands of times when you're making each one. It's sort of just slowly improving that thing. It definitely takes a certain type of person to want to do that, I think. But it's like, I think being a book writer or something like that would be a very similar kind of
For sure.
thing, where you're just sort of stewing in your own thing for a long period of time, and there's a satisfaction in that. Or when I used to play classical music, it's that discipline of learning something really, really well, and then, of course, at the end of that process, they tend to perform. But yeah, I know what you mean. There's no standing on the stage, "Thank you, Denver," kind of moment.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I found out I wasn't really after that at some point.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah.
Now, I mean, this is a silly question, but it's one I like to ask because, like you said, you sort of came into this in a sideways fashion. But, like, were there ever scores that you heard sort of in your younger years that had sort of the light bulb go off, make you go, "That's cool, I could do that"?
Oh, tons. Yeah. I mean, like Danny Elfman's early scores, I absolutely loved. I said that to someone else recently, but Edward Scissorhands and Batman. I found that sound he made was such a blow the cobwebs off moment.
Oh, for
I mean,
sure, yeah.
that was a long time ago, but it was super fresh when it came out. Um, And that was, to me, kind of updating the John Williams sound for the
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you.
modern 90s or whatever. But I also really loved scores like John Powell's Born Identity series. I thought those were fantastic scores. You know, yeah, I mean, I've always listened to a wide variety of music, so film being just one of them. But yeah, definitely, there's been plenty of film scores that have floated my boat. You know.
Now, I mean, just at the end of the day for you, like, what is the hope going forward? Just to be able to get interesting projects like this one, or is there, or do you want to sort of venture out into another creative field? How do you see yourself going forward, particularly in this business? Because I mean, it's weird. We're living in such a day and age where like there's such a demand for content. So I mean, you could theoretically be in your lab scoring stuff for the next 10 years. Like, is that something you want to do, or do you see something else down the road?
I mean, that's always something I've done that. It's been a component or probably the main component of my career for a while now. But yeah, but I definitely miss the other things that I've done in the past. I used to do a lot more theater work. I had a musical out in London years ago. So I'm writing a new one of those at the moment, an age musical. But I also have two young children, or one on the way next month, and
Oh,
one is 2.5.
congratulations.
So it is a pretty good job for staying home with your family because my studio is next door to my house. So
For sure, yeah.
it's quite a convenient setup for the time being. But I am definitely always kind of curious about what to do next. I'd lost the urge to go out and tour with a band quite a long time ago.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't really a lifestyle that. It's also like extremely repetitious, like
Right.
these guys who are still playing songs they wrote 40 or 50 years ago. It's kind of, I'm like, really, is that still good? But I mean, the song might be great, but I don't know for the person if it can possibly be. Maybe it is. Maybe I just don't know what I'm missing. But
No, I don't think you're missing anything, man, because I mean, you're really doing interesting work, and particularly with this show. And I mean, I can't wait to see what's next for you. But just thank you for the time today. And again, congrats on the work, man. Seriously, keep it up.
oh, thanks a lot, Dave.
All
Pleasure
right.
talking to you.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.